Hi, welcome to this Facebook Live event. We're going to learn how to make glow-in-the-dark slime from Elmer's glue, and then we're going to learn some science. I'm Tyler. I'm a scientist and an educator, and I'll be your host today. I want to welcome the teachers and students who are watching from all over the country. So I recently learned about a new glue available from Elmer's. It's new and exciting because it glows in the dark and it makes some awesome slime. So we're going to have a lot of fun playing around with this today. Here's a little bit of what we're going to do. First, we're going to show you how to make this glow slime on your own using some simple ingredients. Then we'll talk a little bit about the science that's happening here. We'll learn how glue turns into slime, and we'll learn how slime is able to glow in the dark. Now, slime can also be a great tool for learning. We'll walk through 2 lesson plans that use the glowing slime. We'll talk first of all about bioluminescence, which is what you call it when living things glow, like fireflies and jellyfish. And then we'll see how slime can be used to help learn about constellations of stars. Now, there are lots of other ways that you can learn with slime as well. Tons of really cool activities are available at elmers.com/slime. Now, throughout this event, I'd love it if you and your classrooms got involved. Use the comment section to tell us where you're tuning in from. And write down any questions that you have throughout this lesson. You and your teachers can use these as a starting point for more learning. All right, well, let's get to it. Let's start off by making some slime. I've got here some of the supplies that you're going to need. There's a pretty simple recipe. We'll need glue, some contact lens solution, and baking soda. All right, start with the glue. Just take a look at this. Squeeze this glue out of the bowl. Get as much as we can. Now this glue is super cool because, as I said, it glows in the dark. You can see that it's also nice and glittery. It's got this pretty cool pink color to it. All right, that's pretty good. Now, we're going to take some baking soda. Add the baking soda. Stir it around here. Make it nice and distributed evenly through. All right. Pretty easy, but nothing amazing. Now is where the magic happens. Okay, time for the contact lens solution. Okay, check this out. Look at what happens now. We stir this around a little bit, and suddenly the glue gets thicker, it stops being so sticky, and it turns into slime. Okay, now after you stir this around a little bit, you can take it out and you can start kneading it. This is pretty easy to make, and it's a lot of fun to start playing around with and kneading. Now, you can always add more contact lens solution to make it less sticky. But check this out. We've got some pretty nice looking slime here. Okay, so this is super cool, particularly when you add that contact lens solution and it goes from sticky glue to solid slime. Well, more solid slime. So what's the science behind this? How do we go from glue to slime? To understand this, we got to talk a little bit about the chemistry of these materials. Now, you might know that all stuff is made of really tiny things called atoms. And those atoms can arrange together into structures called molecules. Now, imagine if we had super bionic vision and we could zoom into these chemicals millions and millions of times and see the atoms and the molecules that they're made up of. Here's what glue would look like. We got a drop of glue, we zoom into it millions and millions of times, and we would see that the atoms in glue are arranged in long strings like this. These strings are called polymers. And they're able to slide past each other, kind of like tiny atomic pieces of buttered spaghetti. This is one of the reasons why glue is a liquid and it's kind of sticky. These polymers in glue can slide past each other. All right, now if we're going to turn the glue into something that's more solid and it's less sticky, we got to add some other chemicals. That's where the contact lens solution comes into play. Okay, check this out. The contact lens solution has chemicals that have a shape kind of like this. They're able to grab on to one of these polymers in glue, just like this, with one end, and then they have another end that can grab on to another one of these glue polymers. So the contact lens solution grabs this polymer, and then this end grabs another. This is a chemical process called cross-linking because it's taking these two different strings or polymers and linking them together. Now, after we add a lot of the contact lens solution, we end up with something that looks like this. If we could zoom into this slime with our bionic vision millions and millions of times, this is what it would look like. All of these strings, all these polymers that were in the glue, they can't slide past each other anymore. They're all cross-linked together by the contact lens solution. This is why slime isn't as liquid as glue, and why it's much harder and why it's not so sticky, because all of these polymers are cross-linked. All of these polymers are cross-linked together. Now, what about the baking soda? Well, the baking soda, it helps the contact lens solution chemical open up a little bit more so that it can grab the polymers that are in the glue. So that's why we need not only the contact solution, but also the baking soda. All right, so that's a little bit about the chemistry of how this glue is turning into slime. But the slime can also do something really cool as well. As we said earlier, the slime can glow in the dark. Let's take a look at it. In order for something to glow in the dark, we have to charge it up a little bit with light, and then we got to turn the lights out. So let's take a look at this, turn the lights out, and look at our slime. What's really cool about this is it has this awesome orange glow, and different colors of the glue give different colors of slime. We can knead it, we can fold it, make different shapes, and kind of play around with it. It's really a lot of fun. You know, so what's the science that's going on with this slime that's making it glow? Well, it also has to do with the chemicals, the atoms and the molecules, just like we talked about earlier. This slime contains a special chemical that acts sort of like a battery, but for light. Remember I said earlier that you got to put something glow in the dark in the light, it kind of charges it up, and then it's able to glow afterwards. Well, the chemical that's in this slime acts just kind of like a battery for light. It's able to absorb light that's coming at it, it's able to hold on to that energy from light, and then later on, over time, it can release that energy back, giving us the light back again. Now, if you want to sound really smart, you can use the fancy scientific term for glow in the dark, which is phosphorescence. Phosphorescence just means that something can absorb light, hold on to it, and shine that light back later. Okay, so we've talked about some of the chemistry of how glue turns into slime, and then how the glow in the dark chemical works in this glue. But glow slime is a great way to learn about other science topics as well. For example, bioluminescence. Certain living things are able to make their own light. Here's a beautiful video of jellyfish that can literally glow like this as they swim through the water. Bioluminescence is similar to the phosphorescence or glow in the dark that we talked about earlier with the slime, but it's also a little bit different. Bioluminescence is cool because animals that are bioluminescent, they don't need to charge up with light. They can just make the light themselves. They use the energy in their bodies to make chemicals release light. Now, think about the energy that you have in your body. You eat food and you use that energy to move and to run, to think, and to breathe. Animals that are bioluminescent can also use their energy to make light. Now, many living things use bioluminescence. It's super important for survival. Fireflies use it to sort of communicate with each other and to find mates. This video shows a glowing scorpion. They're able to light up their whole bodies to see better in the dark. But most living things that use bioluminescence live way under the sea, where there's not a lot of light or where it's totally dark. So that's why it's so important that they're able to make their own light. There's no way that they'd be able to charge up in such a dark environment. A lot of animals use bioluminescence to find food. The viper fish has a little piece of its body that dangles in front of its mouth. And that piece of its body is bioluminescent. It can light up and it attracts prey. It attracts things that it wants to eat to the light, and then when they least expect it, it opens its mouth and swallows them whole. There's also a type of shark that has a bioluminescent pattern on its stomach that makes it look like there's a tiny fish at the bottom of it. So various animals look up, they don't see the shark, instead they see the little bioluminescent fish, they go up to eat the tiny fish, and they find a giant shark instead, ready to eat them for lunch. A lot of animals also use bioluminescence for camouflage. They might have bioluminescent undersides or stomachs so that they don't look like shadows against a bright sky. There are types of squid that are able to shoot out bioluminescent ink to blind or to confuse their predators. And also some kinds of animals are able to use bioluminescence kind of as motion sensor burglar alarms. When predators come to eat them, they start glowing, and sometimes that glow attracts other predators that eat the animals that were gonna eat them. So it's like they turn on this light and they say, look at this guy, he's trying to eat me. Why don't you come and eat him instead? Now, if you think the bioluminescence is cool, there's a lesson plan available at elmers.com where we tell how to learn about bioluminescence using slime. And we also talk about the excellent book Glow by W.H. Beck, which is all about bioluminescence and a great way to start learning about this in the classroom with students and teachers. Now, there's one more lesson to share that we can learn about using slime. We can use glow slime to learn about constellations. You can even practice learning your constellation shapes using little glowing dots of slime. Now, what are constellations? In short, they're patterns of stars. When you look up at the sky on a dark night, what do you see? You see lots of different stars. And people have been looking up at the sky from the dawn of time, and they've always wanted to find meaning in what they see. People have been doing this for thousands of years, but the ancient Greeks are probably the ones that took stargazing most seriously. They looked up at the sky, they saw the patterns of stars, and they wanted to find stories and characters that they knew from the legends that were told in their time. This video shows a constellation of the Greek hero Hercules. A couple points of light in the sky, people use their imagination to connect these dots, and they see Hercules. Now, as I said, sometimes it takes a little bit of imagination to see how these pieces of light can form a shape. That's something that we'll talk about in this activity. There are lots of other characters as well that people have seen in the stars and that they've named constellations for. There's Taurus, the bull, Cancer, the crab, And there's an ancient story that Queen Cassiopeia was placed into the sky as a constellation as a punishment because she bragged so much about how beautiful she was. So here's how you can learn more and practice constellations. Here's a video of a constellation called the Big Dipper, which is made up of 7 bright stars. The Big Dipper is related to another constellation, the Little Dipper. You can take some of the stars in the Big Dipper and they point to the Little Dipper. Now, in the US, we call it the Big Dipper, but people in other countries have seen different shapes. In the United Kingdom, they think it looks like a plow. In Germany, they call it the wagon. Here's how we can practice learning about this constellation. You can take a black piece of construction paper and draw dots that represent the stars in that constellation. Then, take your slime and pinch off little pieces. These are going to represent the stars. Place these on the dots you placed on the paper, and you're building that constellation one star at a time. Now, it might not look like much now, but what's really cool is when you turn the lights off in the classroom, you have a glowing constellation on this piece of construction paper. As we said earlier, sometimes it takes a little bit of imagination to look at a pattern of dots in the sky and see an animal or see a character from a story. This is a great way to learn more about this. You take these constellations, turn off the lights, and then students in the classroom can practice identifying the constellations and finding these stories in the sky. An awesome activity you can do to make constellations come to life. Now, unfortunately, we're just about out of time. I've certainly had a ton of fun learning about slime today, and I hope you have as well. We've seen how to make glow-in-the-dark slime from Elmer's glue and some other ingredients. We learned the science behind how slime forms and why it glows. Then we looked at 2 ways you can use glow-in-the-dark slime in the classroom. You can learn about bioluminescence and learn about constellations. Now, there are lots of other fun classroom activities to check out at elmers.com/slime. And we'd love to hear from you about your own ideas that you might have for using glow slime in the classroom. Check us out on social media. Now, keep on learning. At the beginning of this event, I said write down all the questions that you have and share those with your teacher. These can be great jumping off points for more conversations about slime, about science, and learning in general. And now, of course, slime is always fun to make, whether you're learning or not. Be sure to make slime on your own if you can. Look for Elmer's glue in your local store, and I hope you have a really great time doing it. I'm Tyler. Thank you so much for joining us today. I had a great time, and I hope you did too. Thanks so much. Take care.